Dr. Schultz, what is politainment, which is a part of the title of your book?
Okay, Politainment is a fascinating word that I wish I could claim I invented. All right. So in 1988, to use the phrase, he shocked America. Jesse Ventura was elected governor of Minnesota. No one expected it would happen. And I was teaching a class in 1999 at Hamline, my very first year there. And one of my students wrote a paper and said that Jesse Ventura was the most recent example of a line of politainers, a politician combined with an entertainer, and that we were into a new era of politainment. And what she wanted to talk about is how politics and entertainment, how pop culture and politics had merged together. And her examples over time were just wonderful, great examples about how at one point in the 1960s, to take us way back, Richard Nixon was running for president, and he appeared in 1968 on a television show called Laugh-In, the number one rated show in America at that point, to do a small comedy routine. Or Ronald Reagan, the ultimate polytainer, an actor who knew
Yeah.
to deliver lines on camera so well. Or one of the most famous scenes is in 1992 when Bill Clinton appears on the then Arsenio Hall show, dons
Oh, I remember that.
glasses and a saxophone, and
Yeah,
plays
yeah,
the
yeah.
Heartbreak Hotel. And what she said is that pop culture has always been a little bit part of politics, but now it was fused. She thought with Jesse Ventura, we had really gotten to that point. And if I now could bring it up to the present, I argued that Donald Trump is the ultimate polytainer. For how many years was he the host of Apprentice?
Yeah.
With his what signature line, "You're fired." How he was the ultimate marketer on a whole range of products. I mean, Trump was a brand, and Trump ran for president as a brand when you think about it. And so to me, politics is about
Hmm.
branding, about that merger. And there's lots of ways of thinking about it. It's about how the media, especially the news establishment, thrives upon uh, polytainment type of candidates like Donald Trump. Think about for the Trump presidency, every morning he would start off on Twitter with two or three messages that would then dictate this news cycle for the day. So in some sense, there was a symbiotic relationship. When Trump was running for president in 2016, there are stories that the media gave Trump several $billion in free media coverage because it found that anytime it talked about Trump, the ratings went up. So that's the concept. How do we think about American politics in an age when politics and entertainment are fused together?
Isn't that dangerous?
It's incredibly dangerous. It really is. Because in one of the books I did on the media many years ago, I said that if we think of the core purpose of what the media, and actually I'm going to refine it, what the news establishment is supposed to be, we give it First Amendment protection, freedom of the press, because the press is supposed to provide what I call the democratic function, provide us with the vital information that we need to make informed decisions as citizens and to serve as a watchdog over the government. As I describe it, the job of the media is to bark and to bite. The government does something right or wrong or whatever, like a watchdog, bark and bite. And if now the the media is all about profit making,
Yeah.
if it's all about entertainment, it's lost that function. In an article I did many years ago, I make this reference. There's a point when Bill Clinton is running for president in 92, and there are rumors of infidelity even at that point. The National Enquirer, which most of us don't hold up as to be like one of the great newspapers in America, did a,
Standards of journalism, right?
did a
Yeah.
story all about alleged extramarital affairs. The New York Times ran that article from the National Enquirer on the front page. And I think I wrote something in one of my an article that said suddenly all the news that fit the print meets what inquiring minds want to know. Slogans for the two newspapers,
Yeah,
and and that's really what's happened now. Is that the press has turned into the media, and there's a
yeah.
big difference there because the media, it's not about reporting the news; it's about profit maximization.
Let me approach this issue from a different angle. Do you think politainment, this immediate access of most of our politicians via social media or other means to their constituents, or at times even all Americans, do you think it has also reduced the quality of communication and his sort of descended our politicians from, I don't know, an elevated status? The reason I ask this question is because in the past, presidents and even some senators would write something or would think something, their staff would write it, they would think about it, then they would publish it. But
Right.
now, as you said, you could be sitting, pardon me, on the toilet and just literally tweet to the entire world like
Yeah.
Trump used to do.
Yeah, I mean, in general, there's the argument that says that the social media has produced less deliberation.
Yeah.
I mean, some of us have told the joke that's saying that there ought to be a, I don't know, a 20-minute delay on the send feature on our computers or on our cell phones at this point, so that we
I'm
take
all
time.
for that. It's a great thing.
I think it's a great idea to think
Yeah.
about it because we send things in haste, we send things in anger, we don't deliberate. And you're right, there is a sense in which we've lost that deliberative capacity, that is so important to democracy at this point. And I think that's important. I mean, I think if I think of the things that we've lost, one is the deliberative nature. And I'm also going to invoke one of my professors. I did my master's in political science at Rutgers University. Ben Barber was one of my teachers, a wonderful, wonderful person. And he wrote a book called Strong Democracy. And what he said, we have a lot of noise in our democracy. A lot of people are talking, which he said is good, but very few people are listening.
Hmm.
And I thought, that's really interesting. And his argument was to say, too much talk too quickly without thinking about it, but too little opportunity and too little time spent on listening. And we've lost that dialogue, that deliberative dialogue in American politics. And I think now we just don't have that. We just don't
Yeah.
have that in terms of a lot of our politicians because they can be so instantaneously accessible through Twitter, through text messaging that it's both non-deliberative and maybe canned at the same time. And what I mean
Yeah.
by canned, it's market driven or marketing driven in terms of what they're sending out.
You want to say something, you don't want to wait too long. You want to be in the forefront. Make sure your political opponents are not beating you to the punch. Let's take a break here. Stay with me and Dr. Schultz as we get into the perspective.